Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Sorry about the technical difficulties. My name is Natalia López. I am the current GCAN coordinator and the National Academies of Science Science Policy Fellow for GCOOS. And today I will be doing this brief webinar with my colleague Pallavi Tummeti. Pallavi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Pallavi Tummeti, and I'm GIS admin and developer at GCOOS. And in simple terms, my job is to build maps and data tools that turn ocean science into something people can actually see and explore online. And that's pretty much about me.
Thank you, Pallavi. Well, today we're going to show you a project that Pallavi and I have been working on for almost the past year, which is tracking acidification across the Gulf with an interactive story map. But before we start our presentation, we want to hear about you. I'm going to put in our link to the Mentimeter just to give everybody a break to start scanning. And we have two questions for y'all. So the first question is, have you heard of story maps? Let's see what we're working here, Pallavi.
Yes. Oh, 5 of them responded.
I'm just going to give it a minute. Seems like most of our audience, or the people that have responded, are familiar with what a story map is.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, our second question is, have you made/used story maps? And we have a little bit of everything.
Good. So we have a mix of audience who use story maps and who did not use it. Perfect.
There we go. We have some that have made and that used. We have more people that have used them before, so this is great. You guys are making our job easy today. Well, awesome. Now that we know what we're working with, we can start our featured presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But before, of course, I'd like to talk about GCAN at glance for those who are not familiarized. So GCAN stands for the Gulf of America Coastal Acidification Network. Is one of the coastal acidification networks, as you can see in the bottom left of the map. We service the Gulf states and Mexico and Cuba. And as GCAN was established in 2015 under GCOOS and supported by the NOAA Ocean Acidification Program, or NOAA OAP, we have four core values or missions in our mission, which is to synthesize cross-sector and discipline information and data on coastal and ocean acidification, guide the identification of knowledge gaps and priorities to coordinate research and promote like interoperable methods and data across stakeholders, coordinate activities and facilitate collaborative efforts that help better understand the impacts of the coastal and ocean acidification in multiple sectors specific to the Gulf region. And finally, communicate and educate by creative approaches to communicate ocean and coastal acidification information to different stakeholders, such as policymakers and the public. And this webinar actually meets all of these core values or goals in our mission. So we hope to talk a little bit more about what we're trying to do in a manner to interact with our stakeholders.
Yeah, so coming to story maps, before we show you what we built, let me quickly explain what a story map actually is. I know here there are mixed of people, so I just wanted to recap everybody. A story map is a web page that combines interactive maps with text, pictures, charts, all in one place. And think of it like a website that tells a story using maps. And what makes it so useful is that it visually organizes activities, data, so everyone no matter what their background is, they see it as the same picture and shares the same understanding. So it lets us build the information products that are both useful and nice to look at, and we can tailor them exactly like what an organization needs. And people use story maps to communicate, involve the community, and show the benefit of their work and share information with the public. Next slide, please. And here are a few examples of story maps, and story maps are used all over the world for all kinds of topics. And here are a few examples, and this first one is the ocean acidification one built by OA Alliance, and this is the voice of Grand Canyon and Okavango Explorer. These two story maps are very famous for S3 suggested story maps, and this one is the Olivine in Space. Next slide.
So if you see in the bottom, there's a link. If you'd like to see, there's an overview of story maps in the S3 page. So what is the importance of a story map in the Gulf of America? So the challenge is not explaining ocean acidification itself, but making a Gulf-specific OA observations easier to access, compare, and communicate. The OA Alliance has provided a wonderful tool for not only the Gulf, but other regions, talking about ocean and coastal acidification. So we want to complement that story map with having a story map that is more like data streams across cruises, estuaries, buoys, sensors, and partner monitoring programs, where people can access the data, download it, and also look at the data not only in a map, but also in a seasonal and temporal pattern. So the Gulf has a strong coastal and ocean acidification variability across offshore, coastal, and estuarine settings. Relevant information is distributed across programs, platforms, jurisdictions, and this adds a temporal and spatial context, as I mentioned. It also connects chemistry to ecological and socioeconomic relevance, such as shellfish fisheries. It makes complex data sets easier to explore. It supports communication across audiences, from OA researchers to managers to policymakers, educators, and other coastal stakeholders. So it also highlights monitoring and knowledge gaps, which will be complementary to a manuscript that we're working on in GCAN, identifying the literature gaps in as a scientometrics review or approach to review the literature already published in the Gulf. But the main question that Pallavi and I have is, how useful is this tool for our end users and stakeholders? And to do that, we must identify our stakeholders. So the goals of this project is to develop an accessible ArcGIS story map for the Gulf in ocean and coastal acidification. We want to synthesize observations across space and time, translate technical data into decision-relevant plain language insights. So in a way, having a digital storytelling aspect for this data, and also gauge stakeholder interests and needs, which is the part that I mentioned at the beginning, that you will be helping us with in the part of the discussion, and we want to hear what you have to say.
And coming to the data integration, in our story map, where the data comes from. So we pull together information from trusted partners into one place from NOAA. And right now the data in the map comes from GOMEC Cruises, that stands for Gulf and Ocean Monitoring Ecosystems and Carbon Cruises. And these are the research ships that travel across the Gulf collecting water samples. So far we have brought in this data from all 4 of these cruises, GOMEC 1 through GOMEC 4. But this is really just the starting point. So our goal is to make this a shared home for ocean acidification data across the whole Gulf. So here is our ask to all of you. If your group collects this kind of data, we would love to host it here alongside the cruise data. And the more sources we bring together, like ships, coastal sensors, or any buoys, the more complete picture of ocean acidification across the entire Gulf becomes. So here is our ask. And next one is the story map layout. Next slide, please. And here is how the story map is organized. So we built it in 3 parts. So it flows naturally from start to finish. And the first part is context. So this sets the stage why Gulf is vulnerable to acidification and what GCAN's machine is and where we collect our samples from. And the second part is the signs and patterns. So this is where we show the actual data products and point out the spatial patterns, trends over time, and the hotspots, the areas that changes the most. And the third part is the impacts and action. So here we actually connect the science to real life and that affects on ecosystems and on the economy and how it touches local communities and finally the management tools and the way people get involved. So the whole thing moves from here is the problem to here is how and what we can do about it. And can you click on the story map, Natalia?
Yes, I can.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, here's our story map. Yep. Continue.
oh, okay. So this is the ocean acidification story map that Pallavi has started and that we have been collaborating and working in. So as you can see, I'm not sure, can you see the story map, Pallavi?
Yes.
Okay. We start with just an infographic overview of what is ocean acidification. Pallavi did an amazing job in putting in like the primary ocean acidification parameters as well. And the first thing you're going to see here is the GOMEC cruise overview. On the left side, we have a map that shows like the temporal and spatial data. If you click here on this triangle to see play, you'll see how the different time frames move along, and it shows you the locations where the data was collected. If you move to the dots over here, you'll change different cruises from GOMEC 1 all through GOMEC 4. If you click on this dark bar over here on the black bar, it'll give you the cruise report by NOAA, and it gives you a brief overview of the cruise. So with this said, this is what we are envisioning for the story map. This is the first map that Pallavi has produced with the data of GOMEC, which is at least one of the most complete data sets that we have received. And it's a place where researchers and managers, other stakeholders, if they'd like to find a specific data set in addition to linking to the official web page, it is provided all in one. And this is what we're envisioning, a place where everybody can come here and download the data and see how the data was collected, curated, etc., all in one web page. Now, if you have ocean acidification data or any like related information and you'd like GCOOS to host your data, please reach out to Pallavi. This is her email. We will show a QR code at the end with the story map if you'd like to see it, and it'll come in handy also to receive your opinion about it. Do you want to add anything else, Pallavi?
Yeah, and at the bottom there are 4 points. So when you hover under the second one, you'll be able to see GOMEC choose data. And similarly, the third one is GOMEC 3 and fourth one is GOMEC 4 map. And you also have some content. So to get an overview of what is GOMEC 1, GOMEC 2, and GOMEC 3, GOMEC 4. Yep. And what users will see after opening into the story map. So first one is the interactive map, and so when you click on any monitoring site and a pop-up shows you the details for the exact spot. And the second one is the graphs that show how the water chemistry changes over time. And third one is the seasonal comparison graph. So you can see how conditions change between, for example, from summer to winter. And the fourth one is like the simplified graphics that explain the science in plain language, so it's easy for everyone to follow.
So Pallavi has set the stage with the wonderful story map and has provided all this knowledge about story maps. But why does this matter for the ocean acidification research community or user or end users, right? Well, a story map can turn disconnected ocean acidification observations into a regional picture of where change is occurring, why it matters, and how that information can be used. It can evolve as new data become available rather than functioning as a static report or a one-time outreach product. So this is a way for not only researchers to access data, but educators, for instance, if they're teaching high schoolers about what an oceanographer does, they can access the story map, and without going into the nitty gritty, they can show like where, what data, an example of a research cruise, what data is collected, where is it moving. And so it's beyond a report. It transcends the traditional way of exposing data and also just the storytelling in general of of science. So we want to provide a platform that evolves regionally in synthesis and partnership building. So it's a communication tool, it's a data storytelling tool, it's a digital storytelling tool. It's something that it will not only matters for the ocean acidification community, but also in science in general. I think we can all benefit from having story maps to fulfill one of the main parts of the scientific method, which is to transfer our knowledge and what we learn to the community. So in summary, as I said, this was a very brief webinar, but we're here to listen to you. In summary, the Gulf needs a more data-forward story map designed as living synthesis tool and to complement the current OA communication product. The existing Ocean Acidification Alliance Gulf Story Map does an amazing job in telling the story of ocean acidification, what is changing, what it matters, who is responding, and what we can do. So we see this as an opportunity for GCAN to have a story map to complement that work by being more data driven, showing where observations are coming from, what parameters are being used, what spatial and temporal patterns we're seeing, and where important monitoring or knowledge gaps remain. The GCAN story map is designed to bring data sets, context, and audiences all together. And the goal is to make Gulf acidification science easier to interpret, communicate, and apply.
And from GIS standpoint, so the data came from very different sources like research cruises and each on its own format. So we brought them all into one shared georeference map. So every measurement sits in its exact location and you can compare them side by side in one place. And when you put this data on a map, like patterns jump out that you would never notice in a table of numbers. So you can instantly see which parts of Gulf are more acidic and where the conditions swing the most from the track to track. So what we call is this hotspots. And instead of scrolling through rows of data, you just look at the map and the story is right there in front of you. And because we build this on the web, it's not a one-time report that sits in a drawer. As new data comes in from the cruises, sensors, or any buoys, we can update the map and everyone sees the latest picture. And it also works on any device. So whether you're on a laptop, at your desk, or you're on phone out in the field, you can get the same interactive experience from the story map.
We'd like to thank all of the people that are supporting, all of the entities that are supporting not only the data, but also the servers and the mission of GCAN as well. Big shout out to GCOOS, to the NOAA Acidification Program, NASA, TAMU, NOAA, and the USGS. We hope to add more partners to this data set. This is the QR code for the story map. I can bring it back to the screen, but if you all would like, if I miss someone who hasn't scanned the story map, because you will need this in order for something that we want to hear from you, something that we need. This survey is intended to help GCAN better understand stakeholder needs, priorities, and preferences. We want to learn whether a Gulf as ocean or coastal acidification story map will be helpful to you, what types of data would be best to support your work, and how GCAN can better serve stakeholders. Pallavi and I, while we've been working on this, we've always asked ourselves, who is the end user? Who are we building this for, right? And we have many stakeholders in the Gulf. We service different sectors. So we want to know who's watching this webinar. Feel free to forward this link to people that you think might be able to provide their input also. It is an anonymous form as well, so we will not be collecting any emails. It is just for our own knowledge to see how we can improve, or where can we go from with what we have started. So your feedback will help us guide the design of the future GCAN products, not only the story map, so that we ensure that they're relevant, that they're accessible and useful for you and the organizations that not only you serve, but that we serve. And finally, before leaving, please, 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 if you want to know more about our webinars or about GCAN, you can visit our webpage. We have an events calendar. This is the first, we just kicked off the first of the fall webinar series. Pallavi and I. So the next webinar will be on September 29th, and it'll be a joint webinar with SOCAN, the Southeast Ocean Coastal Acidification Network. And Dr. Caitlin Shockman will be talking about building capacity to produce and characterize Atlantic seawater inorganic carbon reference material. So don't make sure to sign up to our calendar so that way you can get our invitations and you can see what's going on with GCAN, in addition to not only webinars, but other events such as steering committee meetings or any outreach event that we might have. And with that, we're open for questions. StoryMap QR code. You got it, April. Okay, we have a question. It says, maybe I did not catch the information when provided, but I would like to know what's the method used for the OA measurements. Method used to acquire the data or to integrate it in the StoryMap, Tanya? Hi, Asia.
Hi. I was curious to know what inspired you both to want to enter this field.
The field of story maps or ocean acidification?
Ocean acidification, or just the ocean in general. Like, did you know that this is something you wanted to do from you were young, or what inspired you?
You want me to start? You want me to go?
Yes.
Or you want to? Okay. Well, I actually did not know I wanted to be an oceanographer or a marine scientist. I actually always wanted to be a veterinarian, but then I realized I really don't know how to handle like other like situations that come with being in medicine or veterinary medicine. So I always say that marine science chose me. And the way that I ended up working with ocean acidification, what has been through this fellowship, the National Academies of Science Gulf Science Policy Fellowship, and the position was available, and I have coordinator experience, and I also have ocean acidification knowledge. So I said, well, let's give it a try. So it's about, for me, has been about being open to trying new things and to learning about new topics, because the ocean interacts, it's like ecology on steroids. So because the ocean interacts with everything, I think that oceanographers are ecologists, where we need to know like everything that goes around, or like the potential things that are affecting one another. Pallavi?
To add into that, I would say the ocean touches everything like our climate, our food, our coast, or our communities. And working in this field means like the work I do actually matters to the people's lives, and helping scientists and public understand something like acidification before it becomes a bigger problem feels more meaningful. So I thought this project is really great in working on this ocean acidification side.
We have a hand up. Kim? Hi. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay, sorry about that. Great presentation. Very happy to see this getting out. I know we have a couple of data sets, buoy data sets, that will probably be forthcoming and available soon on this. Can you talk a little bit about the process? If someone activates a buoy and has QA/QC data that's getting telemetered and published, or if they have data that's in a publication like data series, what's the process for them to get this included in the StoryMap on the map page?
So if that data is available as a CSV or any JSON files, we can actually make a web map with that, and then we can include that web map here in the story map and talk about from where is this data getting from and the time series, and we can plot line graphs, whatever possible with that, and we can spot the OA hotspots if we can spot with that data available.
And so do folks reach out, like send an email to you, Natalia, or you, Pallavi, if they're interested in doing that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They can reach out to me or Natalia, anything works, and we'll both coordinate and work on it. Yes.
Okay, I have other questions, but I'm going to let somebody else ask first, and then I'll raise my hand again.
Okay, sounds good.
Hi, Angela. Go for it.
Angela's question is, do you feel your story maps are ready for use in OA? And do you have any educational resources or activities to accompany it? And I cannot use this in my classroom and through my informal education classes. So I actually did not get the question. So is it like you want to use it in your classroom, or the story map is actually ready to explore right now, and you can actually open everything in that, and everything is publicly available. And the interactive maps or the site pops, and especially the causes, process, affects everything. And all of that works, and it is very classroom friendly as well. So you can just scan the QR code, or you can just open the link that Natalia have put in the chat, and you can start using it.
I will also add the, I think it's this one. This is the OA Alliance one. I think this one is more education driven. And this is why I think like it would be a good complement for this one, because the OA Alliance has already provided a story map with more of like a general aspect of like ocean acidification, what does it affect, who does it affect, like the local trends. And if you go all the way down here, you'll see who is actively gathering data. So what efforts are, who is putting into the efforts of gathering the data or monitoring OA and COA in the Gulf. Our story map, as we mentioned in the presentation, we wanted to be more focused on gathering the data where it's all together in one place. I think education wise, it would be interesting to, this is my perspective, and probably if there's any colleagues of mine seeing this, they're gonna laugh, because chemical oceanography was a tough class, but I did enjoy it. And I think I would like to see this applied to any like lesson plans in like oceanography, chemical oceanography courses, or like if there are undergraduate courses that are like general oceanography and they don't have any materials to like, oh, I would need a data set for like a homework or a project where students can access and we can practice some statistical analysis, or building a depth profile, for instance. I think those are applied methods that could be useful in the classroom. Now, I am talking more of a specific example, like college level. For high schools, though, I would say like maybe specialized schools that are more like in the STEM education fields. But the Ocean Acidification Alliance provides more of the education materials. Um, GCAN is working on getting more expand more in the outreach education realm, but it is still in the works. So for the story map per se, I think what we're trying to do is compile the data and what other maps can we build that would be helpful in education wise, like in the classroom. I hope that answered the question. And if not, I will be more than happy to keep it trying.
And there is this question asked by Natalia López. Maybe I did not catch the information when provided, but I would like to know what's the method used for OA measurements, please. So that's a great question. I would say this ocean acidification is a measurement. So what we call is the carbonate system of seawater. On the GCOOS cruises, the ship stops at particular stations and lowers the CTD rosette to collect water samples at different depths. And those samples are then measured for 4 key values. So they'll measure pH, that directly tells the acidicity of the water, and then DIC, dissolved inorganic carbon, and total alkalinity, and the amount of CO2 in the water. So the nice thing is that if you measure any 2 of these, then you can calculate the whole carbonate system. So together they give you a complete picture of the acidification. So that's how the GCOOS cruise went around the Gulf and measured the CTT data. I think I answered your question. Any other questions? Oh, Natalia, you're on mute.
Thank you. So what I was saying was that I don't know where it is exactly right now on the GCAN webpage, but we did start a video series last year. Sadly, the Go Make 5 was postponed, but we are working on the video series where we interviewed some of the pH technicians and alkalinity, like other parameters that are being measured from technicians from the College of Marine Science at the University of South Florida. And they go in depth into how they measured the parameters that they're trying to measure, like different pH, alkalinity, DIC, etc. Kim.
As we grow this, maybe we could think about, do we have a link on the StoryMap page, the Gulf StoryMap page, to the Ocean Acidification Alliance StoryMap?
No.
Starting in 1 minute.
Is that feedback from me?
Yes. So,
okay.
So you're asking me if there is a link for.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I was just thinking about the question we had earlier about using this in the classroom and making it a little bit more, applicable for the various education levels. And we definitely need this to be Gulf specific for sure, but perhaps we could think about putting a link to some of the generalized information about OA, linking to the OA Alliance on the front page somewhere. And these are just ideas for consideration. That way they can go there for some of the basic OA, this is how it works and stuff like that. And then two other things I was thinking about, without, and I hate to use the word cluttering because it's not a great word. This is so clean and nice. Without cluttering it, I wonder if there's a way we could put some links to like Gulf specific causes of OA, coastal OA, eutrophication, HABs, heat waves, tropical storm runoff. Some of these are kind of unique to our area. And then that could sort of lead to dig-ins, if you will, on a little bit more advanced information for people who would like to have it. And another thought, and I have a lot of ideas here, it might be really cool if we, at some point as we grow this thing, maybe reach out to add stakeholder stories, right? So like one of the NEPs, oh, we have major HAB events, and these HAB events cause, extended periods of acidification, and it affects this and that and the other. So we could, do the link from here's basically what it is, here are causes in the Gulf, and then for each of those causes, here are links to stakeholder stories where and how they were affected by it and what they're trying to do to try to maybe remediate the cause or something like that. So just little pieces like that might make it a lot more user-friendly for a broader range of education levels and stakeholder sectors. So, and I think Emily might still be on. Emily, you have any thoughts or ideas along those lines? And while we're waiting for anyone else, so on the map, I've got it open. I may have some functionality problems in my computer side. If you click one of the data point locations on the map, does that open the link to the data source right there?
No, the data source is at the bottom of the mapper. You see the Go Make 1 report under it?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Got it. The Go Make 1 report.
And the idea you suggested for the stakeholder stories and goal-specific causes, I will consider that and I'll put that on the story map, Kim. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
great.
yeah.
I also think, Pallavi, for the sake of the what Kim is saying about the data accessibility, maybe we should put CRIS report and data by NOAA on that
Yeah.
on the blog tab, so that people know
Mhm.
that it's more than the report. Would
Mhm.
that be useful, Kim?
Yes, that would be useful for sure. And I do think, like, I'm clicking, actually, every time I click on one of the data points, it is pulling up some of the data.
Yes.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah. Okay, there it is. And it's saying the cruise number, the data that was from that point at the time and date. So that's cool. That's there. That makes it easy too. And I'm thinking about that just because some people just want data from a specific location where their,
Mhm.
territory of interest is. Okay. Thank you,
Right.
guys.
No, thank you. This is great feedback, and that's exactly what the aim of this of opening the space is. So, Kim, thank you so much for opening the discussion about it, and everyone who sent asked questions. We still have time for it. So, any live feedback or reactions would be very greatly appreciated. I've attached the links to the story map and the job form, which is the questionnaire for assessing what you think about the story map and any feasibility. Please, please, please share these to whoever you can in your network that you think they might have an idea, or like they can contribute to this survey, so that we can see where are we going from here to the story map the story maps that we will be generating.
And thank you so much for everyone. And this project was truly a team effort, and none of this would be possible without our partners.
Yes, I agree.
We are grateful for all their support and data.
Yes. And no data is small enough, by the way. If you have like a short like a small like data effort, or like master's thesis or PhDs even, please feel free to contribute. No data is small enough. Every little grain of sand counts, and we would really appreciate if you would also extend this to your labs. I understand that there are some restrictions on data sometimes. We'll make sure to add any disclosures, or more so like adding a link of where to find the data if you feel more comfortable, like to have it in GitHub or in another data source like Vicodemo, etc. Like we can definitely adapt to that. But we appreciate already our 3 submissions to the survey. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments, observations, reactions? I think we have 2 questions, maybe. Thank you, Kim. Our pleasure.
Yes, and please feel free to reach out anytime for discussion. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, I'll reach out to you, Kim, for about the buoy data that you mentioned, and we can display it in the story map. Thanks.
I also think, Pallavi, I want to make sure we get this right. So the data that we have here is QA/QC, right?
Yes, it's
Yes.
QAQC, yes.
Yes. So I think that's another disclaimer that we'd like to add. The data that we do have is already QA/QC. We will not be doing that prior to putting it on the web page. We will just be portraying the data, making the data accessible, and also making a map on it explaining what it is for or where it came from. But we will not be doing quality assessment or quality control. Well, thank you, everyone. We will still be here in case anyone has any more questions, but we thank you very much for attending to our webinar, and we appreciate any type of feedback that you can provide to us, whether it is on the survey, during the comment section, or in the chat. So feel free to provide it. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you for coming.